T.L.L to the English First Additional Language Lessons, and we are going to continue with critical writing skills for paper 3. And I am going to advise you to go through the uploaded lessons based on the process writing steps, as well as the use of logical connectors when writing, before you can review this video. The reason I'm saying that, it is because paper 3 weighs the bulk of the marks in pardon me, actually in paper 3 weighs creative writing. So today we are going to look into the 3 types of letters, just to go through the pointers that one needs to be mindful of, if not to be conscious of when writing a longer transactional text, bearing in mind that you must also ensure that you adhere to the required number of words. It might be for home language, you must know the required number of words. For first additional language, you must know the required number of words for longer transactional text. Remember, we are also doing this as a gesture to also train our good selves for prep examination and final examinations for grade 12s, as well as for grade 11s. When you go to grade 12, it should be in your system to know what is that is required from your good selves with regard to writing. Now, I've mentioned in the previous videos that writing is one of the critical skills that needs to be honed through practicing. So it means that you must follow the steps of process writing to the latter, starting with your planning, drafting, proofreading, and editing. Remember, when you edit now, that's where your critical language skills come into play. And then writing, of course, of the final draft. Now we've got 3 types of letters. We've got a formal letter, we've got a friendly letter, we also have letter to the press. Now when you go through our notes together, it says a formal letter is a communication used in official or important situation or with people you do not know well. So what is important is here is that this is a form of communication that you are going to use to communicate with someone that you do not know very well. It means that you are not writing to a friend. So therefore, it boils down to the fact of the use of appropriate language, and the use of the appropriate tone and register in such a way that you communicate your ideas politely without offending the next person, and then being precise to the point. Because remember, here in a business world, the purpose must be clear. When somebody reads your letter, must not now find themselves wanting, not knowing what is the direction of the letter headed to. But however, you become precise and to the point. And then what can also assist you to do that as well is to read the scenario, to interpret the scenario accordingly. Remember, in paper 3, you'll always be given a scenario. Be it is a letter of complaint, a letter of application, or a cover letter for your curriculum vitae, you'll always be given a scenario. So as and when you do your planning, your scenario should be at your backdrop, so that it informs the content that you are going to craft for your response. Now, a formal letter can have a range of audience and purposes. For example, it can be a letter of complaint, like I've already said, a business letter, a letter of application, or covering letter. The tone of a formal letter must be polite and business-like. A formal register is always used. Even if you are writing a letter where you are very furious, you are complaining, perhaps they gave you a scenario that you bought a phone and it stopped working after a week or so, you cannot become overly emotive. Remember, when you are overly emotive, it means that now your letter is jam-packed with emotions, to a point where now the tone is no longer polite. Even when you complain in a polite manner. So I hereby write this letter to complain about the phone. Then you mention the details of the phone, the amount of that you spent for that phone, bought on the 7th of March 2024. And the phone stopped working, and I am therefore suggesting or pleading with the manager to change the phone for me or to give me the refund. I hope that my complaint or my plea will be adhered to. Can you hear my tone? I'm not saying I want my money back now. So you need to be mindful of your tone as and when you write. Now let us go through an example of a formal letter, but prior that, let us go back to the aspect of tone. I'm going to speak a lot to grade 12 in the video because this is what we call concepts that cuts across the three papers. You know, the issue of tone is very much important because remember, in paper 2, you're going to deal a lot with tones. The tone that was used by the character to convey a particular message, or the tone that was used by the poet in the particular line. So tone describes the feeling the writer gives the writing, right? For example, the tone may be critical, friendly, or business-like. So what you need to be mindful of when you write a formal letter is that my tone has to always be a polite tone, right? And then let us move along. Now, here's an example of a scenario that you are given here. An international company is offering a limited number of bursaries to grade 12, learners for further studies. Write a letter to the manager, human resource of this company, applying for one of these bursaries. Mention the career you want to study towards and state clearly why you deserve this bursary. So it is always important that you read the scenario, even from the question paper. You can check the previous question papers as a guide, as well as you can use them for practice purposes so that you don't lose marks. Remember, in the rubric there's marks for not only format refers to the structure of the letter. Is the letter structured correctly? But also what is important is that content. Is the content relevant? And the only way to justify, if not to measure, if not to assess if the content is correct, it is when the content directly respond to the scenario given, right? Make sure that you don't write a letter now you come up with your own things that totally deviates from the scenario. So remember, when you write, you need to know what is that you are writing, the purpose of the letter, and who are you addressing, which will be your audience. So here you are addressing the manager and the human resource manager for the company, for the international company. What is the purpose of this letter? It's an application letter. What are you applying for? You are applying for a bursary. So every time ask yourself these three questions. What am I writing? Who am I addressing, which is the audience, right? And then the audience is a human resource. And then what is the letter about? It's an application letter. What am I applying for? I'm applying for a bursary. Once you have answered that in your mind map, then you know exactly, you already have the skeleton for your letter. Then therefore what you need is just ideas to beef up, to add meat to that skeleton. And then you are also guided further to say, mention the career you want to study towards and state clearly why you deserve this bursary. So you need to sell yourself to the HR manager, and then that means you need to include your academic strength, your academic capabilities, as well as your personal trait that correlate with your or substantiate your career achievements. Your academic achievement. You cannot now start telling us about that your hobbies, you like to listen to music. It's totally relevant. That is not important. We are not interested in your hobbies, but we are interested in what is that you have that can make you a distinguished candidate for this particular bursary. Hence, I say it is always important to answer these three questions. Once you are able to answer them, the purpose, and then who am I addressing, and then ultimately, if you know whom you are addressing, it becomes very easy because the person that you are addressing automatically determines the tone and register that you are going to use. Of course, this is going to be a business letter, so the tone may be very much serious, but also bearing in mind that you need to be polite. And this is where modal verbs comes into play. Now we look into the example of this planning for this letter. We already know what is the letter about from this scenario. Paragraph 1, which is your introduction, may talk about in paragraph 1, you may give your background, academic background. Where is that the institution that you wish to enroll at next year, in the first paragraph? Because remember, the first paragraph in actual fact must give us the clear purpose of the letter. That is a letter of application for a bursary to pursue a career in B.Ed at Stellenbosch University. So from the onset, when the person reads the letter, the purpose is already there in the first introduction. Unlike in a friendly letter, we can just say, "Hi, hope you're well. I hope you are enjoying your holidays." Yes, that is acceptable, but for a friendly letter. But here, remember, it's a business letter, it's a formal letter. In the first paragraph, the merit, if not the essence, if not the purpose of the letter, must be highlighted there. Why are you writing that letter? Okay. And then paragraph 2 now, that is when now you can start to break it down further or to get into deeper details as to the reasons behind the application. That may include academic background, that may also include financial stance, where you also outline your financial stance in with regards to the need for that particular bursary. And then also you can add a human factor to it when now you speak more of your character trait that you are. Remember, with a character trait, like I've said earlier, you cannot be speaking about you love music. It's not relevant. Yes, you may love music, but for the purpose of the letter, that information is not important. Rather, you may include information such as you are a highly driven individual, very optimistic and a hardworking individual. So with that said, those character traits are actually beefing up the the fact that you are indeed an exceptional, if not outstanding, candidates to deserve the bursary. And then bearing in mind that when you do that in paragraph 2, remember paragraph 2 now you are dedicating it to getting into deeper details as to why you want to convince that person who's reading the letter to say this individual really needs the letter. Not forgetting the use of logical connectors, like I've said in the previous video. The purpose of using logical connectors is to link the ideas together. Just imagine if you were to start the sentence to say, I am in dire need of money as I come from a poor background, full stop. I am a hardworking individual, full stop. I am, so you already have 3 consecutive sentences starting with the same subject, I. It becomes a bit redundant, okay? So when you are in the grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, it's important that you craft that skill to write in such a way that your sentences, I normally say that think of a smooth flowing river. Your sentences must flow like that. If you have already have a personal pronoun I in the first sentence and the second, there's no need for you to have it again in the third one. In the third one, therefore, what you can therefore use is the introduction of a logical connector to say additionally or furthermore or subsequently. Go through that list of logical connectors, because it means you still want to express more as to or to furnish more of the reasons as to why you need that bursary. So with the crafting, not only are we interested in the reasons, but the manner in which the reasons are penned down is also important. So paragraph 3 now, you can talk about your passion. You can talk about the subject that you are doing at your school currently that will enable you to enroll for the course. And then paragraph 4 now, that is the concluding paragraph, where now you just wrap up everything in a sentence or 2. There's no need to have a very lengthy paragraph 4, because in paragraph 2 you went into the nitty-gritties of why you're writing the letter, and 3, paragraph 4 now should be a concluding paragraph. Now let us look into the example here of writing a letter. Please don't get into the pattern of mixing up a postal address with a physical address. This is a physical address, is a street name, name of the place, postal address, and the date. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Be simple, right? Don't write a complicated address. Or you can say private bag X 204 George. Now, if you say private bag, there's no need to mention street names blah, 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 anymore, right? So please ensure that you know how to differentiate between a postal address and a residential address. Don't mix the two. And the date is also important. Don't undermine such small stuff such as writing of an address, please, because you end up forfeiting marks because of these silly mistakes of not even writing the correct address. And then now in the second, remember you skip a line, and then in the second address, it's important from the scenario to note that you are writing to a manager, you're writing to a principal, you are writing to a director. Then your second address must have an indication to say where the letter is headed to. The manager, human resource. Already I can see that this letter is going to be received by the manager. PricewaterhouseCoopers is the name of the company. Then 23 Langford Street, that's the name of the street. And then the city, Cape Town, and then postal address. You are done. Right? So please make sure that when you create the second paragraph, the second address does indicate that it's a business address. You can't have the same address as the first address, or to say 23 Lang Street, Cape Town, 2103. If you just say this without including the manager and PricewaterhouseCoopers, it does not really show that you are writing to a business. But if you include that attention manager or the director, then you mention the company, then the street name, as well as the city and the postal address. Now it becomes a very perfect address. Right. If you know the person, you can say dear manager, or dear sir or madam, or you can say dear. If you know the surname, you can include that. And then this is what you call an introductory line. What do you mean by an introductory line in a formal letter? An introductory line, or a subject line, is a short sentence that states the purpose of the letter. A short sentence that states the purpose of a letter. It may be written in capital letters. If you write it in capital letters, there's no need for you to underline anymore. However, if you don't write it you write it in small caps, it means that you must underline it, because it means it stands out in this letter, so that the person who's receiving the letter knows exactly what is the purpose of the letter. Application for 2013 bursary, or you can say a letter of application. Right? So don't forget that when you write a formal letter, you must also include a subject line. What is a subject line? A short line or a short sentences that sums up or gives a synopsis of the purpose for the letter. Right. Now, here's our letter. I was raised in a poor, yet well-educated family. I would like to get become accounting degree and do my honors at Stellenbosch University. Maybe you can also include the year so that it sounds more concrete. Maybe you say for the academic year 2024. So from the introduction, I can be able to see that what is that you wish or you envisage to study next year at which university. So already I can see that the career path that you are looking for. Now, remember what we said from our planning. Every time when you start to write, you go back to your planning to ensure that you don't miss out anything. We said that in the second paragraph, that's where you are going to start to sell yourself, right? My single mother works hard for our money, yet we still have a lot of debt. So it gives a financial stance. At this moment, I would do anything for a chance to improve my life and to work towards achieving success, right? And then I see myself as a perfect candidate for this bursary, as I'm dedicated to making a success of my studies and becoming a chartered accountant. Now, it goes further to say accounting has always been my passion. Now, from grade 9, I have always known that I want to study to become a chartered accountant. Now, that's when now you can introduce one or two logical connectors here to say, additionally, you can say additionally, on the academic front, to say, or furthermore, on the academic front, I have 81% average and achieved a symbol of maths and accounting. I do not aim to pass. I aim to get what distinctions, right? A very beautiful, straightforward, to the point. It gives the letter stated only the important aspect that are related to the purpose of the letter, which is to seek for a bursary. Then you must always have a closing line. I look forward for your response and decision on the bursary. And then you say yours faithfully. You must have correct salutation, then the signature, name printed underneath. That's how you write a business or a formal letter. I hope this will assist you to collect more marks in paper 3, creative writing. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and to share the link with others.